Donald Trump can put tariffs on our steel. He can put tariffs on our aluminium and other exports. But come for our Bluey? Them's fighting words.
I don't think we want to see a tax on Bluey.
That's US Ambassador Kevin Rudd speaking this week on a panel at the Milken Institute's Global Conference in Los Angeles. And he's referring to the proposed 100% tariff on film and TV production that Donald Trump thinks can make Hollywood great again.
Hollywood doesn't do very much of that business. They have the nice sign and everything's good, but they don't do very much. A lot of it's been taken to other countries.
Now, there's currently a lot of uncertainty about what such a tariff would even do to the screen industry and whether or not it'll even happen. And that's partly because it seems to have come from a conversation Trump had with renowned actor, now turned into renowned loony, Jon Voight. Now, this is what Jon Voight said when he was framing the election battle between Trump and Biden.
The battle of righteousness versus Satan. Yes, Satan. Because these leftists are evil.
Regardless of how insane the 100% tariff is, and it is pretty bonkers, you'd think Kevin Rudd would take a cautious approach. After all, K-Rudd is the same diplomat who was forced to delete this tweet after Trump got re-elected last year. But the fact is, Rudd can't help himself, and he constantly has to prove that he's the smartest guy in the room. And with his typically smug delivery, he went back to the well and again made a joke at the president's expense.
If you've seen the other great Australian movie, Happy Feet, the penguins,
right.
Those penguins of ours have just been tariffed down in Third and Macquarie Island, Antarctica. They're producing a sequel that's called Unhappy Feet.
Yes, Trump put tariffs on islands inhabited only by penguins. Very funny. But I reckon, given how precarious our relationship with the US currently is, the only person laughing at K-Rudd's joke is this guy.
Prime Minister Rudd.
The Perth Bears are about to become part of the National Rugby League competition.
That's Premier Roger Cook at the announcement that the state had shelled out tens of millions of dollars to bring an NRL team over to the West. Worst kept secret in Perth. State politics editor Jess Page was one of the journalists there, applying the heat to the Premier. How would you describe the government's handling of this situation?
The NRL didn't get everything it wanted, right? Let's be straight up about that. There was talk of figures in excess of $300 million. The NRL did not get that. The Premier played a swift hand a couple of months ago when he accused league bosses of treating WA like a cash cow when they balked at his first office. I suspect we've landed somewhere in the middle between what both sides wanted out of this deal. But again, we just don't know. We don't know if he's negotiated a good hand or not because we can't see the fine print. Now, the Premier says, that's what governments do and that there was no need to seek a mandate at the recent state election because there wasn't a deal at that stage to seek a mandate for. But there's certainly been, some interesting negotiating tactics, lots of leaks through the East Coast media, both Peter V'landers and Roger Cook deny having any part in that. And today it was back slaps and handshakes and cheering all round.
Well, it's official. WA is getting an NRL team. But this isn't the first time that the West has hosted an expansion team in rugby league. I'm talking, of course, of the Western Reds back in the mid-90s. What a time that was. And I'm joined now by someone who was on that team, the one and only Adrian Barich. Barra, as I mentioned, it was an incredible time to have that team in the Australian Rugby League, as it was called at the time, and then it was involved in the Super League before it eventually got caught up in that controversy. What was it like to be a part of Rugby League's first professional foray into the West?
It was a phenomenal time. I just got to tell you this one story because I never get to talk about rugby league. It's so good we can talk about it. When they were having this Super League battle, there was these blokes, say Matt Fuller, right? He would have been on $100,000, right? Which back in 1997 or 98, big money, right? But the Super League blokes came over. They had a meeting at the Sunday Times boardroom or perhaps Crown, and they were giving the boys $10,000 to $30,000 cash just to turn up at the meetings, right? So trying to lure them to Super League. And then in the meetings, they'd go, okay, Mr. Fuller, you're on $100,000. If you sign with Super League tonight, you're on $250,000. So Sheepy's gone from 100 grand and all of them to 250,000. He got $150,000 pay rise in one night. And the funniest bit, Ben, you'd be able to relate to this, is all the boys, because I was there, I was part of it all. They signed the entire team except for Brad Mackay, who stayed loyal. So everyone else just fell for the money. And if you said things like, "Oh, I'm not so sure," then the briefcase would come out again. They pull out 10 grand cash and suddenly, "Is this for your wife?" "Okay, I'll sign. No worries." But the funny bit was when we left that meeting, all the boys, we went for a beer, obviously, everyone was celebrating. And they said, all the boys, "You know what? I'm going to invest in property and I'm going to buy shares. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be responsible, load up my super." And then the next week at training, Mercedes, 4-wheel drives, like all the best cars in Perth from Arbogello's. Everyone bought a spectacular car, the Peanuts.